Hello, welcome back to Miss Bell's classroom. Please remember to enroll in my class by clicking the subscribe button. And so, as you can see, I am dressed up. Can anyone guess what holiday I am dressed up for? You can see here I've got some green 4-leaf clovers on my tights. I have green skirt, green headband, green beads. Can anyone guess? Yes, it is St. Patrick's Day. And as you can see, green is a symbol of St. Patrick's Day. So, does anyone know why people celebrate St. Patrick's Day? Say like the color green. It's not for that, but that is something fun about the holiday if you like the color green. So, in today's lesson, we are going to learn all about St. Patrick's Day. So, what is St. Patrick's Day? It is a holiday that is celebrated around the world, and in all different places in the world, it is celebrated differently. So, St. Patrick's Day takes place every year on March 17th. And it is the traditional religious feast day of St. Patrick. St. Patrick's Day observes the death of St. Patrick, who is the patron saint of Ireland. So I'm going to show you a picture of St. Patrick. So here is St. Patrick. You can see that he's holding a clover. He's wearing green. And we'll find out more about him as we go on and why we celebrate him. Right, so as stated before, St. Patrick's Day is celebrated annually on March 17th, which is the anniversary of his death in the 5th century. So this holiday has evolved a lot. And it's evolved into a celebration of Irish culture with parades, special foods, music, dancing, drinking, and a whole lot of green. And Irish in Ireland have observed this day as a religious holiday for over 1,000 years. And on St. Patrick's Day, which falls during the Christian season of Lent, Irish families would traditionally attend church in the morning and celebrate in the afternoon. So Lent prohibits against the consumption of meat. On St. Patrick's Day were waived, and people would dance, drink, and feast on the traditional meal of the Irish, bacon and cabbage. So St. Patrick, who lived during the 5th century, is the patron saint and national apostle of Ireland. And something interesting is he was actually born in Roman Britain, so he's not actually Irish, but he was kidnapped and brought to Ireland as a slave at the age of 16. And he later escaped, but then he returned to Ireland and was credited with bringing Christianity to its people. In centuries following Patrick's death, which is believed to have been on March 17th, the mythology surrounding his life became ever more ingrained in the Irish culture. The most well-known legend about St. Patrick is that he explained the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, using the 3 leaves of a native Irish clover, the shamrock. It's also believed St. Patrick drove all the snakes out of Ireland. However, post-glacial, Ireland never actually had snakes. And many believe the term snakes referred to the serpent symbolism of the Druids of that time and place. Does anyone think that there's snakes in Ireland today? You do? Well, actually, there are no snakes to be found in Ireland. Does anyone know what is traditionally eaten on St. Patrick's Day? Maybe if you celebrate it, what do you eat? So you saw a sign outside of a restaurant that said corned beef. Yeah, corned beef is a very popular dish. So corned beef and cabbage are the main traditional dishes of St. Patrick's Day. And in 2009, roughly 26.1 billion pounds of beef and 2.3 billion pounds of cabbage were produced in the United States. Irish soda bread gets its name and distinctive character from the use of baking soda rather than yeast as a leavening agent. Lime green chrysanthemums are often requested for St. Patrick's Day parades and celebrations. So now let's talk about some of the traditions that happen on St. Patrick's Day. So these are some of the traditions are things that you do every year to celebrate this holiday. So does anyone want to share a tradition that maybe they do on St. Patrick's Day or that you've seen people you know do on St. Patrick's Day? Okay, so you go to a parade. That's a very big tradition of St. Patrick's Day. Anything else? You wear green. And if you don't, you get pinched. Okay. Yes. You try to find 4-leaf clovers for good luck. Okay. Make leprechaun traps. Okay, so we're gonna start talking about a very popular tradition for people who celebrate this holiday. It is a St. Patrick's Day parade, and here is just an example of one of the parades here. And does anyone know what the guy in the front is dressed up as? See him? He's got there. Yes, it's a leprechaun. Very good. Leprechauns are also a symbol of St. Patrick's Day. So the first St. Patrick's Day parade took place in the United States on March 17th, 1762. It happened when Irish soldiers serving in the English military marched through New York City. And nowadays, more than 100 St. Patrick's Day parades are held across the United States. So it's very common. A lot of people do that to celebrate the day. And New York City and Boston are home to the largest celebrations. At the annual New York City St. Patrick's Day parade, participants march up Fifth Avenue from 44th Street to 86th Street. And every year, between 150,000 and 250,000 marchers take part in the parade, which does not allow automobiles or floats. And as Irish immigrants have spread out over the United States, other cities have developed their own traditions. And one of the traditions is Chicago's annual dyeing of the Chicago River green. So here's a picture of Chicago, and they dye the river green for St. Patrick's Day. So does anyone know how this tradition started? And why would Chicago dye the river green? Okay, so the practice started in 1962 when city pollution control workers used dyes to trace illegal sewage discharges and realized that the green dye might provide a unique way to celebrate the holiday. That year, they released 100 pounds of green vegetable dye into the river, which was enough to keep it green for an entire week. So for a whole week after the celebration, the river stayed green. And today they do not use nearly as much dye in the river to kind of help minimize that environmental damage. And today they only use around 40 pounds of dye, and the river turns green only for several hours. Although Chicago historians claim their city's idea for the River of Green was original, some natives of Savannah, Georgia, whose St. Patrick's Day parade, the oldest in the nation, dates back to 1813, believe the idea originated in their town. They point out that in 1961, a hotel restaurant manager named Tom Woolley convinced city officials to dye Savannah's river green. The experiment didn't exactly work as planned, and the water only took on a slight greenish hue. And Savannah never attempted to dye its river again, but Tom Woolley claims that he personally suggested the idea to Chicago's mayor, Richard J. Daley. So now we are going to focus on how people celebrate St. Patrick's Day around the world. So today, people of all backgrounds celebrate St. Patrick's Day, especially throughout the United States, Canada, and Australia. St. Patrick's Day is celebrated in many other locations, far from Ireland, including Japan, Singapore, and Russia. But in modern-day Ireland, St. Patrick's Day was traditionally a religious occasion. In fact, up until the 1970s, Irish laws mandated that pubs be closed on March 17th. However, beginning in 1995, the Irish government began a national campaign to use interest in St. Patrick's Day to drive tourism and showcase Ireland and the Irish culture to the rest of the world. And approximately 1 million people annually take part in Ireland's St. Patrick's Day festival in Dublin. And in Ireland, the celebration is a multi-day celebration featuring parades, concerts, outdoor theater productions, and fireworks shows. Any questions so far? Okay, so now we're going to cover some very interesting facts of St. Patrick's Day. So, does anyone know what color represents St. Patrick's Day? Yes, green, as you can see. So, it wasn't always green though. Does anyone have a guess of what color it might have been before it was green? It's not yellow. Yeah, it's blue. So the color of St. Patrick's Day was originally blue. It's that the shift to green happened because of Ireland's nickname, the Emerald Isle, the green in the Irish flag, and the shamrock or clover. So green ribbons and shamrocks were worn as early as the 17th century. On St. Patrick's Day, beer is one of the most widely consumed beverages on St. Patrick's Day. Legend says that each clover has a meaning. So can anyone guess what each leaf means? So if we have a 4-leaf clover, there's 4 leaves on it, and there's 4 different meanings for those cloves, or those leaves. So I'll give you a clue. One of them stands for hope. The other one is faith. Yes. Luck. Good, yes. And one more. So we have hope, faith, love, and luck. Just told you. So, any questions so far? Okay. So Guinness is one of the most popular drinks on St. Patrick's Day. And shamrock shakes are also very popular. The real St. Patrick wasn't Irish, as said before. He was born in Britain around AD 390 to an aristocratic Christian family. And another interesting fact, the chances of finding an actual 4-leaf clover are about 1 in 10,000. That's why they say you're lucky if you find one of those. Has anyone ever found one before? Oh, you have? Yeah, it's very rare. You must be very, very lucky. Okay, so the world's shortest St. Patrick's Day parade is held in an Irish village. The reason it's the shortest parade is kind of funny. The parade lasts only 100 yards, which is the distance between the village's two pubs. So in the United States, they celebrate St. Patrick's Day in many places. That's because there are around 34 million U.S. residents with Irish ancestry. And this number is more than 7 times the population of Ireland itself. So that is a lot of people who do celebrate it. And Irish immigrants began observing the holiday in Boston in 1737. And the first St. Patrick's Day parade was held in New York City in 1766. Okay, so we kind of talked a little bit about this earlier, but does anyone know what a leprechaun is? Okay, so it's a small little person. Okay, so it's actually a small Irish fairy. Does anyone believe in leprechauns here? Okay. So when I picture a fairy in my head, I don't think of a leprechaun. A leprechaun is dressed like a shoemaker with pointed shoes and a hat. He also wears a leather apron. And leprechauns are supposed to be unfriendly little men who live alone in the forest. And they spend all of their time making shoes and guarding their treasures. Right, so that's all the information that I have about St. Patrick's Day today. Feel free to let me know if you celebrate the holiday or if you are doing anything unique or any traditions to celebrate the holiday. Thank you for watching today, and thank you for learning with me today. I hope you have a restful sleep. Good night.